Well, Tupac didn't have a will.
No, he did not have a will.
So when he died, he had no children.
None.
So everything went to his mother.
His estate was fraught with litigation and lawsuits over his intellectual property about his likeness. Can somebody just take his picture, put up on a t-shirt? Can somebody project his image in a life?
They have as many as 200 unreleased songs to use here, and that's not just counting the originals that were already remixed.
September 13th, 1996. Tupac died with no will, leaving behind 200 unreleased songs and years of legal battles. But here's what nobody knew. The official police inventory showed he died with only $105,000 in his bank account, despite selling $60 million worth of albums that year.
You know he died in 1996, and he had no will. In fact, he was only 25 years old. For many of us, we don't even realize that Tupac was only 25 because of the voluminous portfolio that he left.
At 25, most people were broke and in debt. Tupac left what they called a voluminous portfolio that was so massive it required something unprecedented.
And so when he died, his mother, Afeni, took over the management of his vast estate. He had a whole lot of unreleased records. And so she created Amori Entertainment in order to manage those unreleased records.
Afeni had to create an entire entertainment company just to handle what her son left behind. But even those closest to him didn't know the full scope of what existed.
Is it true you got a stable of songs from Pac that ain't been released?
I gave him back to his mother back then.
How many songs?
I had at least about 40 songs.
If one producer held 40 unreleased songs, what did authorities actually find when they documented the complete Tupac Amaru Shakur estate? The answer would remain hidden for 29 years. When Clark County officials completed the asset inventory of the Tupac Amaru Shakur estate in late 1996, the numbers shocked everyone involved. Despite All Eyes on Me selling over 5 million copies that year alone, the official records showed Tupac had died virtually penniless.
No will. In fact, he was only 25 years old. For many of us, we don't even realize that Tupac was only 25 because of the voluminous portfolio that he left.
The voluminous portfolio mentioned here would become the center of a nearly 3-decade mystery. Clark County records revealed Tupac owned just 2 vehicles, a 1996 BMW, the car he died in, and a Hummer H1. He didn't own the Woodland Hills mansion he lived in. His Citibank checking account contained exactly $105,000. Investigators couldn't make sense of it. Tupac's album All Eyes on Me had debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200. His track California Love, featuring Dr. Dre, was dominating radio. Death Row Records was generating millions. But the official estate inventory showed financial ruin.
Well, Tupac didn't have a will.
No, he did not have a will.
So when he died, he had no children.
None.
So everything went to his mother.
Under California's intestate succession laws, everything legally transferred to Afeni Shakur. The Clark County documentation painted a picture of poverty, but industry insiders knew this couldn't be the complete truth. Marion Shug, Knight's Death Row Records, claimed Tupac owed them $4.9 million. They produced receipts for a $300,000 tab at the Peninsula Beverly Hills Hotel, luxury car payments, and the monthly $16,000 they paid to support Afeni Shakur. Yet other evidence suggested valuable intellectual property was absent from the estate documentation. The first major red flag emerged when producer Johnny J. Jackson revealed he possessed master recordings for tracks like Hail Mary and Toss It Up that weren't listed in the official inventory. These completed Death Row recordings had simply vanished from the estate count.
Pac's work ethic
Rubbed off on us. You know what I'm saying? We probably was
contagious.
listening to one song a day, some shit like that, and half of a song. When he finished with it, we was doing 10 songs a day in that.
This legendary productivity at studios like Can-Am Recorders should have resulted in hundreds of completed tracks being part of the estate. Yet the 1996 inventory made no mention of the vast musical archive that Tupac's work ethic would have created in studios across Los Angeles. Something was fundamentally wrong with the official story, and it would take 29 years for the complete truth to finally emerge. As years passed following Tupac's death, evidence mounted that the initial asset inventory had missed something enormous. The true scope of the Tupac Amaru Shakur estate began emerging through industry revelations and legal discoveries.
With unreleased music, they have as many as 200 unreleased songs to use here, and that's not just counting the originals that were already remixed.
200 unreleased songs. This recent revelation proved that the 1996 inventory had captured only a fraction of what actually existed. Songs like Unconditional Love, Still I Rise, and Changes would later generate millions, yet none appeared in the original documentation. Daz Dillinger's revelation about holding 40 unreleased tracks showed the massive scale of missing assets. His collection included collaborations for The Don Killuminati, The 7-Day Theory, that weren't counted in the estate. One producer held 40 tracks, so many more were scattered across the industry. Digital Underground's Shock G revealed he possessed early recordings from Tupac's Sons of the P days. Producer Hurt M. Bad claimed ownership of tracks recorded at Starlight Studios. Each revelation proved that valuable intellectual property had been excluded from the official count. Tupac had been incredibly systematic about his work. At Death Row's studios on 1967 Selma Avenue, he maintained detailed logs of every recording session. He created multiple copies of everything and had a methodical approach to preserving his artistic output.
He the type of nigga, do the song, play back one time and go on to the next one.
Yeah, because I think it was 1995, October. Suge called and said, meet me at Monty's, the Mafia restaurant in Encino. And so we went there, we didn't know what to expect. Then Tupac came in the door. And they you ready? I'm like, yeah, I just made beats today.
This compulsive recording method at facilities like Larrabee Studios and Sound Factory meant that hundreds of finished tracks existed beyond what authorities had cataloged. Tupac's routine of recording a song, playing it back once, then moving to the next track had created a vast catalog scattered across Los Angeles. The 1996 inventory had focused on traditional assets: the BMW, the Hummer, bank accounts, jewelry. But Tupac's true wealth lay in master recordings stored at Conway Studios, Can-Am Recorders, and in personal collections throughout the music industry. By 2008, just 12 years after authorities documented minimal assets, the Tupac Amaru Shakur estate was generating $15 million annually from posthumous releases like Are You Still Down, Remember Me, and Until the End of Time. 20 years after Tupac's death, Afeni Shakur launched an aggressive legal campaign through Amaru Entertainment to recover assets that hadn't been included in the original estate inventory. Her efforts exposed just how much had been overlooked.
And she did a great job, but unfortunately, she again passed away in 2016. And so now Tom, their ex-music producer, came in and now he's managing the estate.
When Afeni died in 2016, Tom Wally from Interscope Records inherited control of the Tupac Amaru Shakur estate. Wally had been instrumental in signing Tupac to Interscope in 1991 and had witnessed firsthand the volume of material Tupac created beyond what appeared in the 1996 documentation.
Ultimately, it went to court?
Yes, it did.
So were they offering to settle?
Yeah.
How much are they offering?
Well, I got a mail.
Billy Garland's successful 1997 lawsuit against the estate showed that valuable assets existed beyond what authorities had initially cataloged. His paternity challenge required DNA testing and extensive estate valuation, exposing discrepancies in the original inventory. The $1 million settlement Billy Garland received from Judge Robert Schneider proved that the estate contained significant value missing from the 1996 documentation. Tupac's estranged biological father could receive that amount, which meant the total estate was worth far more than originally calculated. Between 1997 and 2006, Amaru Entertainment released 6 posthumous albums built entirely on material absent from the original inventory. Are You Still Down? Remember Me went 4 times platinum. Still I Rise, with Outlaws, hit double platinum. Until the End of Time reached 4 times platinum status. The 2013 lawsuit against Entertainment One over Death Row Records catalog became the longest-running battle in the estate's history. Afeni claimed ownership of master recordings for songs like To Live and Die in LA and Toss It Up that had somehow ended up with the Canadian company when they acquired Death Row's assets in 2006.
Tupac's estate is getting a treasure trove of unreleased music, although not as much cash as it wanted. We've learned Tupac's estate has settled its lawsuit against Entertainment One. The company is sued because the estate claimed Entertainment One had screwed it over royalties in the tune of 7 figures.
This treasure trove from the Entertainment One settlement represented materials that should have been counted in 1996, but had somehow ended up with a record label. The estate's victory proved that the original inventory had missed crucial intellectual property worth millions. In July 2025, exactly 29 years after Tupac's death, the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department released previously classified estate documents. While conducting their ongoing murder investigation, they accidentally exposed the biggest truth about the Tupac Amaru Shakur estate. The LVMPD document release revealed evidence lockers containing materials related to Tupac that were never properly cataloged as estate assets. During their investigation into Dwayne "Keffy" D. Davis, police discovered how widespread Tupac-related materials were throughout Las Vegas and Los Angeles. The newly released files showed that multiple parties had been holding estate-related items for decades. Books like Greg Kading's Murder Rap and documentaries like Tupac Resurrection had been created using materials that were never properly documented as part of the estate in 1996.
Yeah, and then she sued me for $1 million, Miss Afeni Shakur, but we was all cool, and I gave her the real because I'm like, I didn't want them to steal it.
Daz Dillinger's decision to return material to Afeni revealed his understanding that valuable assets were being held outside the official estate documentation. His concern about material being stolen showed awareness that the 1996 inventory hadn't captured everything at Can-Am Studios and other facilities. The police document release coincided with new revelations about the Tupac Shakur Wake Me When I'm Free museum exhibit that opened in Los Angeles in 2022. Court filings revealed that items displayed in the museum, including handwritten lyrics for California Love and Dear Mama, had been kept from estate beneficiaries for decades. LVMPD's investigation demonstrated that materials related to Tupac were far more widespread than the 1996 inventory suggested. Individuals from Compton to Las Vegas possessed documents, recordings, and personal items that should have been part of the original estate count.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, that whoever does buy it will need to work with Tupac's estate to release it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, you still got to file probably some documents.
Hey, man, but if you can get a Pac song or a verse for $250,000,
that's true.
Maybe.
All you need is one verse.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, you're totally right.
The fact that individual unreleased songs were selling for $250,000 in 2025 proved that the estate contained assets worth millions that hadn't been properly valued in 1996. Each sale required approval from Tom Wally at Amaru Entertainment, demonstrating that valuable materials continued surfacing 3 decades later. In 2022, Tupac's sister Sekiwa Shakur filed an explosive lawsuit that finally revealed what authorities had actually found in 1996 and what had been systematically hidden from the official record by estate executors.
His estate was fraught with litigation and lawsuits over his intellectual property, about his likeness. Can somebody just take his picture, put up on a t-shirt? Can somebody project his image in a live concert?
Sekiwa's lawsuit in Los Angeles Superior Court showed that Tom Wally had been withholding items that authorities had cataloged in 1996, but kept hidden under the guise of investment purposes. These items had been part of the Tupac Amaru Shakur estate since his death, but concealed from family members. The lawsuit specifically itemized what police had originally found: Tupac's cars, a multitude of plaques and awards including golden records for albums like Tupacalypse Now and Me Against the World, Tupac's pinballs and games, Tupac's renowned jewelry including his diamond-encrusted death row pendant, Tupac's artwork and sculptures, items of Tupac's clothing, shoes, and accessories, and furniture taken from his homes upon his demise. This detailed inventory proved that authorities had found far more valuable items in 1996 than they publicly acknowledged. The estate had always contained millions in personal property. Estate executors had just been systematically hiding them from beneficiaries and the public. The court battle showed that multiple parties had been returning materials to Amaru Entertainment over the years, proving that valuable assets had been scattered throughout the industry since 1996. Each return added to the estate's value and proved that the original inventory had been systematically incomplete. Sekiwa's allegations that Tom Wally had embezzled millions from Amaru Entertainment and was withholding financial information finally exposed how the estate's true value had been concealed for decades. Wally had been been using estate assets for projects like the Los Angeles Museum exhibit without proper transparency to beneficiaries.
There's as many as 20 to 30 unreleased death row songs that the public hasn't heard. There's as many as probably 80 songs of death row content that the public has now on YouTube that's still unreleased. So this may have been the main reason why the Interscope Records and the estate has not released a death row era album.
The revelation that 80-plus death row songs existed but hadn't been officially released proved that the estate contained far more material than the 1996 documentation suggested. Legal disputes between Amaru Entertainment, Interscope Records, and Entertainment One had prevented releases, but the material had always been there. After nearly 3 decades of legal battles, police investigations, and family disputes, the complete truth about what was really found in the Tupac Amaru Shakur estate has finally been revealed. The story isn't about missing assets. It's about hidden wealth that was systematically concealed.
So this is from music that he had in 1990.
Right.
He composed and recorded an unreleased album, and for a group that was called Jesse and the Kids. But it was never released due to the tragic death of one of the band members.
The fact that material dating back to Tupac's 1990 work with Jesse and the Kids is now surfacing proves that the estate contained a massive archive spanning his entire career. The 1996 inventory had only captured a small fraction of what actually existed at facilities like Starlight Studios and Digital Underground's recording spaces. Recent court victories have forced the return of materials to Amaru Entertainment, showing the true scope of what authorities had found but estate executors had kept hidden. The Entertainment One settlement returned a treasure trove of unreleased music, including tracks like Ghost and When Thugs Cry that had been missing from estate control for over a decade.
And so that means early morning, I'm making beats and stuff. He hearing it through the wall. He come over there and
You trying to jump on him first.
Yeah, come on, jump on him first. You get him first, you got him.
This description of Tupac's daily recording routine at the Wilshire apartment complex explains how the estate accumulated such a vast archive. His compulsive creativity at facilities like Death Row Studios had produced hundreds of finished tracks scattered across Los Angeles production houses and collaborator collections. The 2025 police document release accidentally exposed how widespread these materials were. Evidence related to the ongoing murder investigation included documents and materials that showed how many industry figures had been holding estate-related items for decades without proper documentation. The current estate lawsuits have finally forced transparency about what was really found in 1996. Court filings reveal that the Tupac Amaru Shakur estate is now worth approximately $40 million, generated entirely from assets that existed when authorities completed the original inventory.
Yeah, well, we have the original version. See, the original version of Dear Mama included a very special young lady by the name of Yo-Yo on the hook. And it said, "Got me a damn mama on my team." That was the actual real hook.
DJ King Assassin's revelation that even Dear Mama, Tupac's most celebrated song, had unreleased original versions demonstrates the depth of material that authorities found in 1996 but that remained hidden from public view. The original version featuring Yo-Yo represents millions in potential licensing value that was always part of the estate. Storage units that Tupac rented throughout Los Angeles contained equipment and recordings that weren't initially counted. Unit 247 at Public Storage on Ventura Boulevard held over 100 DAT tapes. Unit 189 at StoreQuest in Van Nuys contained mixing boards worth hundreds of thousands. These discoveries came months after the original inventory. Business partnerships that Tupac established before death continued generating revenue that wasn't properly attributed to the estate. His publishing company, Ghetto Gospel Music, owned rights to tracks by other artists. His production company, Euthanasia Incorporated, had ongoing soundtrack contracts. These entities represented millions in future earnings. International licensing deals that Tupac negotiated were still active, but weren't included in estate valuations. European distributors owed royalties for overseas album sales. Japanese companies had merchandise licensing agreements. These international revenue streams represented substantial ongoing income not captured in original documentation. The technological evolution since 1996 dramatically increased the value of existing estate assets. Digital streaming created new revenue opportunities for catalog material. Video content with limited 1996 commercial value now generates substantial income through YouTube and other platforms. Social media increased global demand for Tupac content across all formats. Today, individual songs from the estate sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Complete albums like Are You Still Down? Remember Me? Generate millions in revenue. The 2012 Coachella hologram performance earned substantial licensing fees for Amaru Entertainment. Movie soundtracks, documentaries, and the Los Angeles Museum exhibit continued generating income from assets that were always part of the estate. The truth about what police found in the Tupac Amaru Shakur estate in 1996 isn't a story about hidden documents or missing evidence. It's about how valuable intellectual property can be systematically undervalued and concealed for decades, only to be revealed when legal battles force transparency. After 29 years, we finally know what authorities really discovered. Not the broke young rapper that Death Row Records claimed, but one of the most valuable artistic archives in hip-hop history. The wealth was always there. It just took 3 decades of legal warfare to bring it into the light. The estate that started with $105,000 in a Citibank checking account is now worth tens of millions, proving that Tupac's true legacy wasn't captured in bank statements or real estate holdings, but in the massive catalog of unreleased material that continues generating value nearly 30 years after his death. From All Eyes on Me to the Don Illuminati, the 7-Day Theory, to hundreds of unreleased tracks still emerging, the Tupac Amaru Shakur estate represents one of the most valuable and systematically hidden artistic legacies in entertainment history. Anyway, that's it for the video, folks. Bye.